The Tesla Model Y is here, and Tesla has officially resumed production and deliveries of what they expect to be their most popular car. Now, I've had the Model Y for about 2 months, so today I'm going to bring you my full review. Now I'll break down all the aspects of this car, including the things that are great about it, the things that bug me about it, and the things that are just straight up bad about it. Now before we get into it, it's important to note that I'm more of a tech fan than I am a car fan, and this is definitely the nicest car I've owned. I'm coming from a 2008 Honda Fit, so already the car is going to seem great just by that upgrade. But judging by the reviews this car has been getting from car experts, I don't think that I'm wrong to say that it is a great car that could use some improvements, which we'll get into later in the video. Now the Model Y is Tesla's follow-up to their very successful Model 3, and it was announced in March of 2019. Ordering the Model Y, or any Tesla for that matter, is unlike ordering any car. It's just as easy as ordering anything online, and you just go through their steps with their easy configurator, and you're good to go. I ordered my Model Y back in October and paid the deposit with Apple Pay. Now the base model of the Model Y isn't out yet, and it's supposed to come out in 2021 and start around $40,000. I purchased the Long Range all-wheel drive version of the Model Y, which starts now at $52,990 and gets a range of 316 miles on a full charge. And Tesla began deliveries of this model as well as their more expensive performance version in March of 2020. I also got a couple upgrades on mine. I got the 20-inch Induction wheels, which are an extra $2,000 now, and I also upgraded to the red paint, which is beautiful and is an extra $2,000. Now, since I ordered back in October, I actually locked in a slightly lower price, so my total was $55,500 plus Tesla's required destination fee of $1,200, for a total of $56,700 before tax. After tax and registration, my grand total came to $60,179.75. I took delivery of my Model Y in March in Los Angeles, California, where they actually delivered it straight to my house. It was a super easy process. They did a whole touchless delivery. It took less than 30 minutes. They took my trade-in of a Honda Fit, and I was on my way. As I mentioned, Tesla's factory has been shut down for a little bit, but now they are starting to ramp up production again, and hopefully we should be seeing the standard range version soon. I'll be sure to keep you updated on the status of that, so make sure to subscribe to this channel for all the updates about the Model Y, Tesla, and tech in general. Now the Model Y clearly looks a lot like the Model 3, and this is intentional on Tesla's part. While the Model Y is quite a bit taller, sits higher, and has a lot more cargo space thanks to the hatchback trunk, it is actually made out of 75% of the same parts as the Model 3 is. If you look at the interior, especially the front two seats and the dash, it's actually hard to tell them apart. So this means that all the standard features we've gotten used to in the Model 3 are now standard on the Model Y. First, the Model Y doesn't actually come with a physical key. It actually comes with 2 key cards that you scan on the side pillar to unlock the car. But this is the backup method. The main key is your smartphone. With the app connected, you can control most things in the car using a Bluetooth connection, but also via LTE when you're not in range of the car. I found the LTE connection especially useful because I actually have a free city charger just down the street from me, and I utilize it from time to time. Opening the app gives me peace of mind that my car is doing fine and also gives me a status of the charge. Additionally, as I'm walking back to the charger, I can vent my windows, turn on the climate control, and make the car more comfortable before I even get in it. So all the features of the app include climate control, locking or unlocking the car, honking the horn, flashing the lights, starting the car, popping the trunk, opening the trunk, turning on valet mode, which limits the car's functionality, turning on Sentry mode, which is an advanced security system that records movements around the car using the built-in cameras, and turning on speed limit mode, which limits the speed. Additionally, you can set charging limits, start or stop charging, unlock or lock the charging port, check for nearby superchargers, find the location of your car, buy software upgrades for the car if you don't have them, schedule service, request roadside assistance, and check your odometer, VIN, and software version. With your smartphone acting as your key, you actually don't have to even open the app. You just walk towards the car, it automatically unlocks for you, and when you walk away, it automatically locks for you. As I mentioned, the design of the Model Y is largely taken from the Model 3, but bigger. It has no front grille, an all-glass roof, and door handles that are flush with the doors. Some slight differences are that the Model Y features a larger, fully panoramic glass roof for even more beautiful views in the rear seats, along with a standard matte black trim and handles. A matte black trim is a big thumbs up from a lot of people because a lot of Model 3 owners ended up getting a chrome delete to get rid of the chrome on their Model 3. And now the Model Y comes standard with no chrome. Speaking of thumbs up, make sure to like this video if you've been appreciating it so far. Alright, since there's no engine, the Model Y actually has a front trunk that can fit quite a bit, although the hood is a little finicky to close properly, with Tesla actually recommending that I close it even softer than I would the Model 3 lid. The rear hatchback features an automatic liftgate with a flatbed and tons of storage. On top of this, there are 2 rear under-storage compartments, and the rear seats fold flat for even more trunk space. If you want to carry more or tow, Tesla has an optional $1,000 tow hitch which can tow up to 3,500 pounds. However, I'd recommend you get a third-party option which is just under $300 and just as good, and it's linked in the description below. The Model Y comes standard with a tint on the glass roof, the back window, and the rear windows. Now let's talk about what it's like inside. The interior of the Model Y features that beautiful glass roof that I already mentioned with a full vegan leather interior and all 5 heated seats. The front seats are incredibly comfortable and power adjustable with lumbar support and options. Your preferences are actually saved on the screen, and it's really easy to switch profiles or update your own. The rear seats are also very comfortable with a little more width than the Model 3, and they actually have the ability to recline, even though it's just a small amount. In the front, the center console is very large with a lot of deep storage and an included wireless charger for 2 smartphones. Within that console, there's a USB-A and USB-C port, and then in the back, there are 2 USB-C ports. On top of that, there's a 12-volt plug in the front and in the trunk. The front dash in the Model Y is the same as the Model 3, and it's incredibly minimalistic, with nearly everything in the car being controlled via the 15-inch touchscreen that's mounted in the center of the dash. There's no instrument cluster, and there's actually no obvious air vents either. There's just this one long vent across the entire dash that's controlled on the screen. I personally love this design and see it as a futuristic, useful move to software-based controls, but others are going to dislike the lack of physical controls when setting particular controls like air conditioning, headlights, windshield wipers, or even opening the glove box. However, with the popularity of the Model 3, it doesn't seem like Tesla is having that much of an issue selling this design. The visibility out the front of the Model Y is great thanks to the simplistic dash as well as the high ride height on the Model Y, with the seats riding about 6 inches higher than they do on the Model 3. When driving, this is your view. On the left of the screen, you have the Autopilot visualizations, speedometer, gear selection indicator, battery indicator, and a few controls to bring up the rear camera, windshield wipers, and more. By default, the right side of the screen is dedicated to navigation, and Tesla uses Google Maps data for the trip navigator that has been great so far. I've yet to experience it in full-out traffic because there's not really any traffic happening in Los Angeles right now, but my assumption is that it would handle it great because it's using Google Maps data. And I'm assuming it won't have me careening through gated communities and hitting every possible unprotected left like Waze does, even though Google owns Waze. On top of this, the maps will automatically route you to a supercharger along your route if you need to stop at one in order to make it to your destination. It's pretty much the same as finding a gas station, but it automatically does it for you since chargers are typically a little harder to find at the moment. When driving, the right side of the screen will also be used for anything else, including options, air conditioning, music, and so on. Now, people complain about the speedometer being to the right as opposed to directly in front of you in an instrument cluster, but I got used to this within the first week of driving the car, and it's not an issue whatsoever. The air conditioning is very cool, but pretty unconventional as there are no physical controls for it. Usually I keep it on auto and just set the temperature, but you can direct the vents pretty specifically and split the climate between the 2 sides of the car. To be honest, when driving, I wish it was a little easier to change these settings, but voice controls can help out there. Overall, the screen feels like a large iPad. It's very easy to use and more responsive than most touchscreens included in cars. Additionally, it auto dims, and at night it automatically switches to night mode, so it's never distracting. The backup camera on the Model Y is amazing, mostly just thanks to the large display. It's incredibly helpful when you're backing into a tight space or a garage. It also can help while driving because you can bring it up in any time, and the visibility out the back of the Model Y is probably the smallest I've seen in any car. Now, the steering wheel controls are very simple, but actually do a lot more than people realize. On the steering wheel, there are 2 stalks and 2 scroll wheels. The left stalk controls your blinker, brights, and windshield wiper, while the right stalk controls your gear selection, cruise control, and autopilot controls, as well as your parking brake. The left scroll wheel is dedicated to your music. Scroll up or down to control the volume, and click left or right to go to a previous song or skip to the next one. Click in the middle to pause or play your music. The right scroll wheel adjusts your cruise control speed by scrolling up and down, and adjusts your cruise control following distance by clicking left or right. And then you click in the middle to activate voice controls. The voice controls in the Model Y are pretty handy, but can be a little bit finicky. Change temperature to 68. Pull up rear camera. Change temperature to 68. Phone integration is pretty good, but not perfect, which leaves a lot of people wishing that Tesla would include Apple's CarPlay or Android Auto. Phone calls themselves are very easy and great with an easy dialer, recents page, and contacts list, but text messaging needs some improvements since basically each message just comes in as a message and it doesn't handle group texts and it can't see images either.
Jessica says attachment. One image.
Regarding music, the sound system in the Model Y is incredible and one of the best systems I've heard on any car. I'm a professional musician myself and I look forward to listening to music in this car. My biggest complaint, however, is how music is actually integrated into the system. For music integration, you can log into Spotify, connect your phone, use Slacker radio, FM radio, or play from a USB source, and it's all right there on the screen, easily accessible. However, it doesn't work how I'd like it to. The best integration is with a smartphone since it will automatically pair via Bluetooth and play music very easily. But I don't want to be on my phone, which is why I was excited for Spotify integration. Unfortunately, Spotify integration is pretty terrible. As opposed to just putting the Spotify mobile app on the screen, Tesla tries to integrate it all into one music source. It seems the music app is designed for people who just want to listen to something, as opposed to something specific. When opening the Spotify section of the music app, you can choose albums, artists, playlists, or songs, but artists are in some kind of most recent order, and there's no way to change that. There's no way to choose alphabetical. You can't just scroll to the B's to find the Beatles. You have to scroll through a list that is based on what you listen to a lot, but ultimately is random. I mean, I know I haven't listened to Kanye West for at least a few months, so I don't know why he's right there. Then when you decide to search because you can't find what you want there, it's a music app search, not a Spotify search. And the search isn't even close to as good as Spotify, and it's very finicky. The good news is that there are voice controls, and when I tell my car to play a specific song or album, it usually gets it right. Play Come Together by the Beatles. But even then, sometimes it doesn't, and I end up using the finicky search, or I just give up and find the song on my phone. The other good news around that is that this is something Tesla could update in the future with an over-the-air software update, which brings us to software updates. Tesla sends out over-the-air software updates regularly, just like you would get on your smartphone or computer. Last year, Tesla released their V10 software update, which was their biggest yet. It brought Tesla Theater, which added Netflix, Hulu, and YouTube. It also brought their Smart Summon feature, which I'll mention in a bit, Spotify, the Tesla Arcade with new games to play in the car, and more. In addition to those updates, Tesla updated a lot of the core functionality of the car, with a lot of owners noticing massive improvements on Autopilot. Now that was a big update, but as I mentioned, Tesla is pushing out regular updates. So since buying this car about 2 months ago, I've actually already received 2 software updates. One of them was just bug fixes, but then the other brought this new SentryCam dashcam viewer. Plus, for those with the full self-driving upgrade, Tesla just released the traffic light and stop sign control and plans to release auto steer on city streets by the end of the year. So these are all driver assistance features, but they all stem from Tesla's goal of safety. For the Model 3, Tesla achieved 5 stars in every category, making it the safest car ever tested by the NHTSA. And Tesla expects the Model Y to be no different, and we should hopefully hear those results soon. On top of this, before even getting into an accident, Tesla includes many driver safety features. There's a lot of data out there showing that driving with Tesla's safety systems significantly reduces accidents. With Tesla's Autopilot activated, which we'll talk more about in a second, Tesla registered 1 accident for every 4.68 million miles driven in Q1 of 2020. Now that compares to the NHTSA average of 1 accident every 479,000 miles. So the likelihood of getting in an accident is less, and then if you were to get in an accident, it's probably the safest car you could be in. But don't worry, although I love this car, this isn't just a praise fest, and I'm going to get very detailed about all the issues I've had with my Model Y a little later in the video, so stay tuned. Now for the Autopilot system, the Model Y comes with 8 cameras built in, and Tesla actually allows you to utilize these cameras for both a dashcam setup and Sentry mode. Simply plug in a formatted and compatible USB device, and when necessary, your car will save the last 10 minutes of footage from 4 different angles on the car. In an accident, those cameras will act as a dash cam and automatically save those clips for evidence. You can also manually save a clip at any time by hitting the button at the top of the screen or by honking the horn, which is something you probably would have done if you need that footage. On top of this, Tesla has Sentry mode, which is their advanced security system. This system will record any activity around around or on your car when it is parked and save the footage, as well as display a warning on the screen that the car is filming for any potential criminals. It's an extra line of defense if someone were to key your car or break into the car, as many Tesla owners have actually been able to catch the criminals by using this footage. Tesla recently added an onboard dashcam viewer which lets you automatically view the clips right on the screen. So if you get into your car and there's a Sentry Mode event, you can look at it right away and know if you need to act before you leave. The drive I'm currently using for dashcam and Sentry Mode is made by Pure Tesla, and it's called Tesla Cam, and it automatically comes pre-formatted so that you just plug it in and you're good to go. And that's linked in the description below if you want to check that out. Now, the main reason I decided to get a Tesla as opposed to another electric car is because of Autopilot. The Model Y, and all Teslas for that matter, come standard with Tesla's Autopilot system. When driving on the freeway, or any straightforward road for that matter, just press down twice on the right drive stalk and your car will automatically enter both traffic-aware cruise control and auto steer, enabling the car to do all of the work for you. It'll immediately let you know if Autopilot is available or not, and reminds you to keep your hands on the wheel and be prepared to take over at any time. You have to prove that you are in fact paying attention by applying turning force to the steering wheel about every 22 seconds or so. It's a great safety feature to have on there for now to make sure that you're paying attention, because it can be easy to overtrust Autopilot since it does such a great job, but it's not 100% perfect. But Tesla continues to work on it every day, and we could expect it to be near perfect in the future. To adjust your speed, you use the right scroll wheel to adjust in 1 mph increments, or you can throw the wheel up or down quickly to adjust in 5 mph increments. Then to adjust your following distance, you can do so by clicking right or left on the right scroll wheel to decide how many car lengths between you and the car in front of you. I recently drove a 700-mile round trip from Los Angeles to Arizona and back, actually to get married, and Autopilot drove for most of the drive, and it was absolutely incredible. It definitely takes some getting used to at first, because when you're going into tight turns, you don't want to trust it, but then it does a great job. Overall, it's very relaxing to use, particularly in stop-and-go traffic. My one nitpicky complaint about Autopilot would be that it centers in the lane pretty much immediately. So if I was a little bit left to the lane, it automatically goes bam, right into the center of the lane as soon as I go into Autopilot, which is kind of jarring at first. Now, I know it's my fault that I wasn't in the center of the lane and it's correcting it, but I feel that it could do it a little bit more naturally when you first go into Autopilot. Now, if you don't want to use auto steer, you can just use traffic-aware cruise control to maintain your speed and react to the cars around you while you steer. And I've never really had an issue with this. But if you trust it all and you really want to go for it, you can get Tesla's full self-driving upgrade for an extra $7,000. You can buy it at the time of purchase, or you can add it later since it is just a software update, and that's what I plan to do myself. With the full self-driving package, you get Navigate on Autopilot, which will automatically drive on the freeway for you, overtaking slower cars, changing lanes, doing everything. You also get Auto Lane Change, which will change lanes for you. You get Auto Park, which will do parallel and perpendicular parking for you. You get Summon, where the car automatically comes to you in a parking lot. And then you get what they just came out with, which is Traffic Light and Stop Sign Control. This is where the car will recognize and respond to traffic lights and stop signs. Now, currently this feature requires driver confirmations to actually go through the signal when it recognizes that it's green, but Tesla estimates that by the end of the year, this feature won't require confirmations and they'll have auto steer on city streets. Now, Tesla's goal is that the Model Y, with the hardware that is included with it today, will be able to become a robo-taxi within the next couple years via a software update. Last we heard from Elon Musk, he predicts that by the end of this year, they'll be functionally ready, just waiting on regulatory approval. I'm not that convinced that a robo-taxi will be coming anytime soon, but I do know that Tesla's full self-driving features are incredible and getting better. Now, I love Autopilot, but I especially love driving this car. I never used to like driving and especially dreaded driving in Los Angeles, but this car is just too fun not to drive. Electric cars just drive different, and it's really fun. They are nearly silent and don't have any of the moving parts that make gasoline cars so loud. On top of this, with instant torque, the acceleration is absolutely incredible, with my Model Y boasting a 0 to 60 of 4.8 seconds. So first, let's see how quiet it is when you're stopped. Nothing. Now let's see how quiet it is when you're driving slowly. And now let's do a 0 to 60 launch and see how quiet that is in the car. pretty amazing how quiet it is, and you can feel clearly that there's no gear shift or any delay. It's just instant speed. So that's fun and all when you get a chance to use it or you're getting onto the freeway, but I've actually found it quite useful in those times that you're stuck in the slow lane and you can't get into the fast lane because it's moving too fast, or when you need to do maneuvers to stay safe that just require some speed. Now, the other aspect of electric cars that Tesla seems to have perfected is regenerative braking. Regen braking is something that hybrid cars and electric cars have had for years, where it captures the energy gained by braking and puts it back into the battery. In the case of the Model Y, Tesla has added the hold option, which enables true one-pedal driving and will come to a complete stop without ever needing to touch the brake. When you let off the accelerator, the car automatically begins gently braking, capturing the energy back into the battery and slowing to a natural stop. Once you are stopped, you can take your foot off the pedal and the car is going to stay put. This allows for less back and forth between the pedals, overall results in a smoother drive, and puts less wear on your brake pads. At first, this took a little bit of getting used to, but now I use it all the time, and I've found that it particularly shines in windy mountain roads where you'd typically be shifting between the gas and the brake constantly. Now, the big question with electric cars is how annoying is it to charge? Well, it's actually the opposite of annoying. It's way more convenient than gas. I charge my Model Y every night in my garage with a NEMA 1450 outlet for up to 30 miles per hour of charge. I had an electrician install this plug for about $250, and I used the included Tesla charger with an adapter that Tesla sells for about $35. Now, charging at home at a rate of 30 miles per hour may not sound like a lot, but if you factor in all the hours between when you get home from work and when you go to work the next morning, it's hopefully 12 to 16 hours or so, you'll have no problem regaining the entire battery capacity, if that's even necessary. For the majority of drivers, commuting to work and back is going to be less than 60 miles, so there's no real need to charge up to 316 miles every time. It's definitely a different mindset after filling up with gas for so many years, but overall it's way cleaner, way easier, and overall saves me time from going to the gas station. On top of this, charging at home is going to be way cheaper than gas, and I've heard people get a full fill-up from anywhere from $3 to $10 when they do the math on their electricity bill. The only time charging can get a little bit annoying is on a long road trip. Luckily, Tesla has nearly 2,000 supercharger stations all around the world, which can recharge at rates up to 250 kilowatts per hour. This allows you to add 158 miles of charge to your Model Y in as little as 15 minutes. But it is important to point out that that is at its fastest, and if you're planning to go on a long road trip, you should probably plan to stop for 25 minutes or longer. However, if you schedule your charging stops for when you're going to eat or use the restroom, you're hardly going to notice that you were charging for longer than what would have been a quick fill-up. Now, before we get into the issues I've had with my Model Y, I want to remind you that with an electric car, there's way less necessary maintenance. There's no oil to be changed, there's no timing belt to get fixed, there's no transmission to get fixed, and none of those repairs that we're used to hearing about on gasoline cars that typically add a lot of cost to ownership. I'll keep you posted, but I'm anticipating maintenance to be very low on this car. So now onto the annoying and then the bad parts of the Model Y. Here are some things that bug me about my Model Y. Number one, it's missing a good blind spot detection feature. It's going to prevent you from turning into a car there, but it's not really helping you much to know that the car is there. Number two, the side mirrors are actually pretty short and don't really show you as much as I'd like to see in my mirrors. Number three, the visibility out the back is pretty bad and results in me thinking that cars are closer than they really are, since I can only see the top of them. Number four, the center console comes glossy, which means that it has pretty bad glare at certain times of day and is the definition of a fingerprint magnet. You can see the difference here between what it comes with and then me wrapping it myself. Number five, the glove box can only be opened on screen, which is safe, but it takes 2 taps to do so, so it makes me not want to store stuff in there. And then on top of that, the voice command that Tesla lists on their website just doesn't work. Even though the air conditioning is a great system overall, it's a little complex to adjust, especially when you're driving. Number seven, the interior cabin ambient lights basically provide no light and they're basically non-existent. Number eight, the Tesla app can actually be pretty buggy with the unlocking and locking of the car. There have been quite a number of times where I walk up to the car knowing that it should unlock, I try to open the handle and it's locked, so I have to take out my phone, open the Tesla app, and then it unlocks. It's one of those things where normally I would have just taken out a key on the way to my car, but I didn't do so because it has this great feature to automatically unlock, but it's buggy. It also seems to have more difficulty since both mine and my wife's phones are paired to the car. Number 9 was something I mentioned earlier, which is Spotify integration. It's pretty terrible and it just leaves me to not use the on-screen app. Number 10, auto brights are a little bit too aggressive for me. They basically turn on anytime there's not another car in sight, and it was too much for me and I turned it off. So those are the things that bug me about the Model Y, and let's finish off with the bad things about it. It's important to note that most of the issues I'm mentioning, Tesla will fix for free. But on a $60,000 car, it's something that you shouldn't have to go get fixed, even if it's free. First up, my Model Y came with some clear fit and finish issues, which is something you're probably used to hearing about Tesla by now. I detailed the paint issues in a previous video, which you can check out up here or in the description below, but overall the paint quality wasn't great. There were clear areas where Tesla had done some adulterations after the fact, and 2 areas where it was clearly missing paint. Now Tesla did fix these for free, but they left quite a bit of swirl marks in the process, which I then got fixed at a detail shop. Regarding the build, there are some panel gaps that don't really bother me, but shouldn't be there on a $60,000 car. On top of this, the rear seats came out of alignment, and while Tesla service said they will fix it for free, they haven't been able to yet since this car is so new. Currently they rattle because of this alignment issue, which is very frustrating. The front trunk has a bug where the car believes that it is open and warns me even though it isn't. The trim on the top of the car feels a little cheap and loose even after Tesla service looked at it. One day the window didn't roll down properly when I went to open the door, and then it left this big gash on the trim, but that is something Tesla service will be fixing for free. When you look at it at the right angle, my glass roof actually does have an alignment issue that again doesn't bother me, but it's definitely noticeable when you look for it. If the rear headrests aren't down all the way, they're gonna squeak when I hit a bump, and that's another thing that Tesla will be fixing. The front headlight seems to be kind of misaligned. It kind of squeaks and moves slightly when I press in on it. And I noticed that when I was washing the car. Also, every time I go over a bump as well, it has this sound of like a house settling. And I figured that was just a new car thing and it would last a couple weeks. But it's still doing it basically anytime the car isn't even. It has kind of this like... But overall, I think that's all the issues that I've had so far. Now, all of those fit and finish issues are things that Tesla needs to improve, and hopefully they will over time. But for the majority of Tesla owners, including myself, the positives already outweigh the negatives, even with those issues. And I don't say this to excuse issues that Tesla has on their cars. They definitely need to fix those things, but overall the cars are still incredible. With Autopilot, the future of full self-driving, incredible battery technology, charging at home, less maintenance, premium features, no more gas and no more oil changes, the Model Y is well worth the cost and absolutely the best car I've ever driven. Compared to the Model 3, I like sitting higher in the Model Y and I like the overall versatility of the trunk space. And after driving this car for about 2 months, I already know that I can never go back to a gasoline car. So how does the Model Y look to you? Does the good outweigh those fit and finish issues that I mentioned, or are those deal breakers to you? Also, what do you think about the Model Y as compared to the Model 3? Which do you prefer? Leave a comment below and let me know. If you're planning to buy a Tesla, you can use my referral link in the description below to get 1,000 free supercharger miles. Now right now it actually doesn't include the Model Y, but we're expecting that Tesla will be adding this soon. On top of that, you can also check out my favorite Model Y accessories linked in the description below. In the meantime, make sure you subscribe to this channel if you're not already to stay up to date about Tesla and tech in general. Make sure to like this video if you appreciated it. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.